Hi guys, it's me Talia with the Sassy Nation, and I want to talk to you today about this is kind of like a response video to a video one of my friends, Jazzy by Nature, made about our relationship with our parents and how we kind of navigate them and the things that we need to let go of. And I want to share a quick, I hope it's quick, personal story with you about something that came up for me really recently that had me feeling really triggered about this particular relationship, that I have, which is with my mother. So just to give you some background on this day, this was Mother's Day. I was feeling irritable all day long for a couple of reasons. Number one, I had spent the weekend in LA and I had flown back in the morning very early so that I could spend the day with my mom. And as I was leaving LA, I realized that I couldn't find this pendant that she gave me, and it's a pendant that I always wear, and I thought it was lost. And so I was a little worried and irritated about that because I knew where it was, but I just couldn't put my hands on it. And it being Mother's Day, I knew she wasn't going to notice, but I did. I knew, and then on top of that, my early flight, so I was tired and kind of had gotten a lack of sleep, the night before even. All of these things were like simmering, in this little pot of mine, which was my brain or my mind. And so anyways, I got back to the Bay, and like I said, I was a little tired and stuff, but we had to make rounds. I went to go see my grandmother. We spent some time with her. We stopped by my aunt's house. She wasn't at home. And so then we went on back to the house, and my sister had called me a couple days before and asked me if I would cook like a nice steak dinner for her and my mom. Well, really it was for my mom. She was like, find out what she wants to eat, and can you make it? I'll go get the groceries and all you have to do is cook. And so I was like, yeah, cool. So anyways, the day comes, and the initial plan was for us to have this dinner at my mom's house. And then something came up. I don't know, my sister called, and I guess she was like out still like grocery shopping, but like not for the dinner, for like her household for the week, because it was Sunday and she has 4 boys, so she was getting things in order for that. And I had set an expectation that on Sunday when I got back that I was going to cook dinner at my mother's, but also at the same time back up my computer, because I have video content that I have been making for you guys that I wasn't able to upload because I couldn't get it from iMovie to even save to my hard drive, because there just was no more room, no more space. And so I really wanted to get this video content moved over to the external hard drive that I just bought. And I felt like moving the dinner from my mom's over to my sister's house was like, okay, now I can't work on what I wanted to get done for Sunday. So I was a little irritated about that. And then when I got to, and I also, let me interject this here, I felt like I didn't really have a say in the matter necessarily, and I was trying to be cool about the situation, because I'm like, it's Mother's Day. This day isn't about you. If having this dinner over at your sister's is better, more convenient for her and for your mom, like just go with it, So I'm trying to talk myself into having a good mood and a good attitude about it, but it's getting harder, So basically we got over to my sister's house. I cooked the dinner. She wasn't even there, which also kind of irritated me. So I'm like, we're over here to like spend time with you, which is what I kind of gathered that my mom was trying to do. She'd get to see her grandkids, my sister as well, and we'd all spend the day together. Well, that didn't really work out like that, so we were just kind of like waiting around for her to come back. But the whole time, like I'm making the dinner, I really started like having an attitude, and I knew I was in a funk, and I'm steadily like trying to talk myself out of it. Like, even on the way over there, I was like, what is your problem? Like, why are you like this? Like, this day isn't about you, and like, you're doing this out of the kindness of your heart, so do it with a good attitude. Like, I'm really trying to talk myself into behaving better or having a better attitude. And I don't know, I guess my mom probably could tell because, you know, but she wasn't saying anything, and she wasn't like, you know, she wasn't necessarily trying to, I don't know, add fuel to the fire either, you know. She was just kind of being go with the flow with it, I guess is the best way to describe it, which is, you know, and I kept telling myself, like, you know, this is for her, and look how calm she is, and, you know, she seems to be not having an issue with it. Why is this an issue for you, and this and this and that and that? And so the conclusion that I came to, a couple of things, was that the next day I woke up and I realized that it was my attitude that was sort of creating these circumstances that I felt like, in a way, a little bit like my mother did say something to me that day that kind of felt like, I don't think it was an intentional jab, but it felt that way a little, because when I got in the car, I said, like, Happy Mother's Day to her, and she was like, oh, Happy Mother's Day, and then she was like, oh wait, like, you're not a mom. So I felt like that was like, it stung a little, like, okay, well, damn, you know, I don't know, that made me feel a way, and compile, you know, on top of like all the other stuff that I was feeling, it just, this goes to show and prove like how you can let your thoughts run away with you, and how once you start thinking like one negative thing, it can spiral and get bigger and bigger and become like an issue when it's really like a small thing, right? So anyways, my sister comes over. I mean, not comes over because we're at her house. She gets home, and you know, she has her dinner, and you know, they're both like seemingly happy about it. So I'm happy that they're happy, but I'm also happy to, you know, be going home. So I get back to the house, go to sleep. The next day I wake up and I have the realization that, like, you know, your attitude is a big reason why you felt like you didn't have a good day. It's not really, you know, anything that anybody else did. And I think that proves a point that, you know, everything is mental and it's internal. Like, we determine like what our situations are going to be. And also something about it in my perspective changed in that, in general, like about my mom, is that, you know, the night before when I went to sleep, I was posting something on Instagram more for her because I just wanted her to like feel acknowledged, even though I spent the day with her, and everybody else was leaving like these really sweet, cute, nice messages about their mom, and I was posting mine. And because of the day that I had, the words that I was thinking, or the way it was trying to come out, seemed very like negatively overtone a little. And so I ended up just writing, you know, I said to myself, okay, why are you having such a difficult time writing this caption? Like, you love your mom, you know, it should be easy, right? But I just was really grappling with the words, like, what do I want to say? Like, how do I want to say? Because I felt so negative all day long. So I was struggling with like having something positive to say. And so I said, well, just think about like, what is it that you do actually love and appreciate and admire about her? Write that. And then it came to me really quickly. And so I went to sleep, and you know, I woke up and saw like, you know, she had commented on it and being all gushy and stuff, which is not really her way. But anyways, something about my perspective changed because of that moment. And I realized that a lot of what I have been manifesting, like as far as my relationship with my mom, has manifested because I focus a lot on the negative, like a lot, you know, and it didn't used to be that way. And so when I wrote that caption, I was reaching back like in my mind about and thinking of a time when we were a lot closer, and she just seemed different to me, or maybe it was I who was different, or it was both, you know. Like at this time, I think about like when I was in college, for example, because that was the memory that I pulled on, that how my mom was like, I only thought positive thoughts about her. Like I'm sure we still, you know, actually we got along really well when I was in college and even afterwards, because my perception of her and our relationship was really based on like, I only thought about her in a positive light, you know, and I looked to her as an example because she finished college actually when I was like in my sophomore year, and like had been in school, it seemed like my whole life, but had persevered and gotten her college degree and her post-grad degree like a G to be quite honest, because she had 3 kids and I was in school, just me, myself, and I, you know, nobody else to take care of. And she like really devoted that shit, you know. And I was very proud of her at the time. And so when I was feeling like I was struggling, I always, you know, would reflect back like, well, you know, your mom did this with like 3 kids. Yes, she had a lot of family support too, but if she did it, like you can. So I always thought of her like as being an inspiration, like in that way. And so therefore I feel like our relationship reflected that, you know. I had a lot of humility at that time and a lot of respect for her at that time. And then, you know, so the next morning when I woke up after I wrote that caption, after having, you know, tapped into that memory, I thought about it again and I said, well, if back then I was being very humble and very respectful, what am I being now, you know? Am I being ungrateful? Am I being disrespectful? You know, a lot of things have changed in our relationship, and a lot of it I think has to do with just my perception and the ways in which I need to be more compassionate about certain things. Only, you know, certain people who are close to me know this, but my mother she's dealing with mental illness. She has bipolar disorder, and to me it's become like really, really prominent, like as I've grown older. Like I've noticed it more. Like I don't know like if the signs are really there when I was younger or if it's just more pronounced now. And up until really recently, it never really occurred to me that, you know, this is a major reason why we have such up and down relationship. And something that my girl Jazz said in her video about how we need to be like more forgiving of our parents, that translated to me is like, I need to be more compassionate, like as a daughter, you know, and understanding that she has this issue that she's dealing with the best way that she knows how. And like some of the behavior that I feel like gets projected onto me, like not taking it so personally. And it only really occurred to me like really recently this week, like, well, maybe me myself, I need to go to therapy to get like some coping skills and just be better able and better equipped to like deal with, you know, this with what seems to me like this wild range of like emotions and behavior that she's, you know, it feels like projecting a lot of times. Because my natural default position, what I notice that I do is I try to block it out. I ignore her sometimes. I put in my headphones. I just like retreat like into myself. And I don't necessarily feel like that's the healthiest way to deal with situations or with her. And as a result, like I think she knows, like, you know, she has like one of her episodes and then she'll come back the next day and be like a completely different, kind, gentle person. And it's kind of like this negative thing that happened, or you know, when she just blew up like a couple hours ago or the night before or whatever, doesn't even exist, you know. And I'm like, well, is she being nice, like trying to make up for, you know, this behavior that she showed the night before, or is it just she's back in balance? Like, I don't know what it is, and it's so perplexing. And I feel like, you know, maybe therapy would help me not be so reactive, because like sometimes I get really frustrated, like so frustrated, you know. And I respect my mom, so it's not like, you know, when she's ranting and raving, like I can be ranting and raving and screaming back at her, like, you know, shut the fuck up or leave me alone, or, you know, projecting or being mean or negative. Like, I don't want to be that way, you know. And so I'm just like, well, shit, you know, to be honest, I've never really even looked for or sought out, you know, support or ways to cope, you know, with these wildly vacillating moods that she has. I just do what kind of comes natural, and I think like as a result, it's chipped away, I feel like, a little bit at our relationship, you know, and made it very volatile, where I don't ever really remember it being that way. And again, this goes back to, well, you know, to a degree, I feel like some of it, maybe I help feed the fire and manifest, you know, certain situations because of my perception of like this new attitude or issue that she has, or just the way that I relate with her. Like, I'm not being helpful, you know, when I am either being defensive, or I'm retreating, or I'm retaliating, or as a defense, because I feel like I'm on defense like a lot, you know. And so for her, I know it hurts her feelings when like she's trying to be nice and I'm like got this wall up. And the reason I have the wall up is because I don't know who's gonna show up today. Who are you right now? You know what I'm saying? So it's very volatile, and it's very emotional. And I just, you know, like Mother's Day like really did it for me, and like illuminated some things for me about like you know, how I could be more compassionate in this situation, you know. And you know, I don't feel like anybody has the market cornered on like what the right way to deal with stuff is, much less myself, much less my mother. But I think that, you know, just getting some tools to be able to like work through it personally, you know, would be helpful in this situation. And that kind of goes back to the video that Jazz made, and she was talking about how we need to you know, be forgiving of our parents, but it's up to us to like do the work on ourselves, so that we're better able to relate, and we're we're able to forgive, and we're able to have loving, you know, relationships with our parents, because they're just people, you know. At the end of the day, they're just people. They go through stuff like, you know, we go through stuff. And you know, yeah, so that did it for me. That was like a very illuminating experience, you know. I keep going back to like this whole ayahuasca business. Like, it's really made me very self-reflective, like if I was before, even more so now. And like things are constantly coming to me, and you know, this issue of compassion was one of the things that, you know, was told to me, that, you know, I could be more compassionate and I can be more kind and patient, you know, was one of the words that was given to me in ceremony when I asked about this, you know, specific relationship. And yeah, I've definitely been tasked with that, you know, to improve upon the relationship that we have. And I realized, like, I can put the blame on her or her disease or her illness or whatever, but at the end of the day, if I haven't done the work, you know, with myself and on myself, so that I can relate better, and that I can be a more compassionate human being, and that I can be, you know, more forgiving or lenient or tolerant, or and all of these things. If I haven't done my part, like, nothing's okay. My phone died for a second. So anyways, I was just saying, if I don't do the work myself, then nothing's gonna change. You know, the change, it starts like within you. You can't force people to be different. You can't force your will necessarily, but you can be the person whose vibe is high that can influence the tide. And I want to be that, you know, in my relationships. And the only way that I'm going to be able to do that is by doing the work. So that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say about that. Stay tuned for part 3 of this series. Jazz and I are going to get on a call together, and we'll be taking your questions and asking some questions of you about, you know, what are you doing to mend your relationships with your parents, your mom, your dad, or other people even in your family, and how we can facilitate a collective healing, because that's what we're here for, you know. We're here to live and move and explore and enjoy and all of those things. And you know, our parents are a part of that, you know, because they are part of us. So it's time to heal these relationships. And yeah, so we'll be getting on another call pretty soon. Friday, I think it's going to be our day, and we'll be doing it on Instagram Live. So hope to see you there. All right, guys, see you on the next video. Mwah. Bye.